Have you ever bought something because everybody swears by it, but deep down you're wondering whether it's actually any good or not? Well, that's where I'm at today because I've purchased the UK's best-selling car wax and it comes from Bilt Hamber. Now, this happens to have some of the highest rated reviews for any detailing product across Amazon. However, not everybody is convinced. So in today's video, I want to put this to the test to find out why some of you love and hate this wax. On this channel, I have featured some fan favourites, including the graphene paste wax from Turtle Wax, and another bestseller from Maguire's being their liquid wax. And to be fair, both of them have performed very well. However, I need to be honest with you. I'm not a massive fan of waxing cars anymore, and here's why. My argument was always simple. I value time as a currency. So from a business perspective, it was always a case of get in, get out as quickly as possible, but maintain that high standard for my customers. And then when we had the introduction of ceramic sprays and foam sealants that could pretty much do the same job as a wax, but in a fraction of the time, it became very clear to me that I had to ditch the wax. In that case, why am I making this video? Well, despite my feelings about waxing cars, there's still a strong case for it. And that's because wax gives your car that rich, warm glow and the deep, wet, glossy look that every car enthusiast craves. Today, I'd like to give it another chance, as there's something about the spring weather that lifts my spirits, and it makes me want to take my time and wax the car the old-fashioned way. Before I put Bilt Hamber's wax to the test, I had a job to do, which was get this Abarth 500 nice and clean. So I carried out a typical maintenance wash, which included giving the wheels and tyres a good scrub, a citrus pre-wash on the lower third, and then a top layer of snow foam. And as always, I will put links and discount codes for everything used in this video in the description below. After rinsing away the foam, I jumped on with the contact wash before giving it one more final rinse. And with the temperatures rising rapidly, I had to get this car back in the studio as fast as possible. Right, lovely. So we finished drying the car. Now I want to talk about the next group of potential drawbacks which may stop you from getting a decent finish. If you are thinking about waxing your car, I'm sure you've heard of this term before. Anytime you go to Halfords, you'll see all on the shelves, there'll be products called wash and wax. Now, the dangers of seeing these products called wash and wax is you get into this psychological block where you're thinking, okay, all I have to do is wash the car and wax it if I want to get a nice finish. But unfortunately, if you want to get a really good finish and you want to use a professional product like the Bilt Hamber double speed wax, you are going to have to remove some of the contamination out of the bodywork. This gave me an idea. I wanted to carry out a 50-50 comparison on the bonnet of the car, comparing the wax on both a fully prepped and an unprepped surface. By doing this, we should be able to identify whether there's a difference in the application process and also the water behaviour, which we will be revealing later. Using a quick detailer, I sprayed the surface and used my clay block to take anything out that was embedded into the clear coat, like industrial fallout or pollution. So this method gives the wax the very best chance of working to its full potential. Soon after, I broke out my machine polisher and I used a medium pad with a medium compound to remove any swells or potential micro-marring marks from the clay block. And this took no more than a few minutes, as it really wasn't that bad. Oh yes, this is looking awesome. I've only given it a quick polish, mind you. I've not really gone too mad with it, but I've just levelled it out so it's nice and smooth, got no contamination in there, and hopefully we're going to get some fantastic results. Finally, using my new panel wipe, I sprayed the passenger side to remove any oils or silicons. This next part will make or break you. Now, they do emphasise in the how-to video, which I will put a link in the description below, that when you apply this, you need to make sure that this, although it has to be damp, has to be thoroughly wrung out first, and you need to be extremely sparingly with applying it onto the bodywork. And they do say that with real caution. So I don't want to see you getting this wax, slapping it on all over it, leaving it on for hours on end, and then going, oh right, I went to buff it off and it's made a complete mess of my car. So seriously, try not to skip any of these steps. If you follow the rules and you do it one step at a time in a nice cooler environment, I don't think you're going to have any problems. So I really am going pretty sparingly here, and I'm working it in circular motions, and it's gliding over okay at the minute. I imagine if I was doing this outside in the direct sunlight right now, because we do have a very warm day, I think I'd be struggling. So this is interesting because I want to just quickly raise a point. what they don't tell you is how big the circle should be. Now, I know that sounds really petty, but if I was going in loads of little circles, I reckon there'd be so much friction here, this sponge will start getting very warm and dry out a lot quicker. So I'm going to try a bit of a combination here of doing large swooping circles and smaller circles. I want to put myself in the position of the beginner, and I want to try and think as to why they would say that this product is no good. Why is it crumbly? Why is it going thick and powdery? So what we did was, as you saw in that footage, we put this under the tap, we wringed it out, so this was the first application. Applying it here, no problems whatsoever. It was nice, light, thin, everything was all working. But as we're gradually moving along the bonnet, what's happening is the sponge is starting to dry out. We now have a properly primed pad here. So because we're sticking the wax in, the whole thing has been primed properly now, whereas when we started here, there was no wax already in it. You see where I'm going with this? So now when we've got a primed pad and we've got even more wax, what's happening is it's drying out. So I'm now going to pull the camera in so you can have a look as to what's actually happening. And this might explain why people are leaving negative reviews. It's not the product itself, it's just the way that they're using it. So I feel the best case scenario is to work on small sections at a time and then go and rinse this back out under the tap again. I think by doing that, we should have no problems. Right, so as you can see here, when we first applied it, it was nice and thin. If anything, I've probably gone too thick there. But as we're gradually working our way over here, look at this, it's starting to crumble. Now, I genuinely believe this is just because it's drying out. So look, I'm going over it now, and you'll see it's going to make a bit of a mess. So I just want to give this a quick rinse under the tap now, and then try again and see what effect that has. Let's give it a go. See, I can already, look at this. So you can already tell that is not half as bad as what we just did over there. So I think the key to getting this right is keeping on top of your sponge. Right, I've left it 10 minutes now, so it's time to get this off the bodywork, and I'm looking forward to this one because everybody raves about it. Oh my word, I can see why now actually, that's pretty good. Yes. That is, oh my word, it's looking good. That looks amazing. So this is the bit that really matters now. So look at this. That feels awful. So you can even hear it as well. Hang on, let me get my microphone. Listen to this, ready? That is awful. Now listen over here, ready? Nothing. And then back over here. No comparison, is there? To the untrained eye, looking at this section on the bonnet, I mean, you wouldn't be able to tell the difference if you stood back. However, it's only when you get close do you really notice that there is a significant difference between the area that I've polished and the area that I've just completely left and gone over with the wax. And it's when you look really close, you can still see these little marks in here. So I definitely sympathise with the people who have put in the reviews saying, oh look, it's a great wax, but it's very difficult to work with. I can see why they would honestly say that. But there again, if you prep the surface properly as what they would normally recommend, I don't think you're going to face any of those issues. But another thing we really do need to take into consideration is this is a controlled environment. We have lovely lighting, it's nice and cool in here, so there's no wind, there's no direct sunlight, there's nothing which can interfere with the whole process. So I think now what we really need to do is take this car back outside and put it under a more difficult scenario. Yep, this is the part I was dreading the most. Oh my, this is just the worst out here. So look, you can have a good look at the bonnet, you can see for yourself. This has come up really well, by the way, I'm happy with that. But over here, I mean, I don't know what you're gonna see on camera, but in the direct sunlight, it's just a bit patchy. But like I said, then again, I haven't really done any of the proper prep beforehand. Whereas this over here just looks fantastic. Look at that. I'll tell you what, doing this out here makes me appreciate what I've got in there and what I've had to do over the last, what, 16, 17 years now, when I've been a mobile car cleaner out on the road. So looking at this here, because I've got the direct sunlight beaming on the black here on this paint, it's very hard to see where you've actually been. And I think this goes back to the point where I sympathise with people who might have over-applied the wax, but they've only over-applied it just so they can see where they've been. Compared to working inside the studio, waxing the car outside took me slightly longer, and I was starting to develop a bit of paranoia. Yeah, I had to bring the car in the end because that wind was just picking up and it was just flicking dust everywhere. It's taken like half an hour to get around some of the parts there. So I've just done the left-hand side and the right-hand side, and now we've finished the front. So this is the last part I've got to do. But I was just like, oh my word, there's so many quicker ways of getting a nice finish. I mean, granted, I haven't left this to cure for a couple of hours. I mean, time will tell whether this is going to look even better when I pop back in later this evening. I think it's just something that I've discovered as I've started to get older now. It's not as fun as it used to be. Despite having these feelings, I still had an experiment to carry out, which could potentially take back everything I just said. I've come up with a quick idea. I want to do a water test. So I've just got plain water in here, nothing special, and I'm going to spray it onto the bodywork here. And I just want to see if there's any difference in water behaviour or beading effects from the polished side to the non-polished side. So here we go. Amazingly, in the test, it was near impossible to tell the difference. So regardless of how well you prep the surface, you'll still get similar beading effects to what you can see here. In terms of protection, only time will tell, and I will keep you updated on the channel. So, is Bilt Hamber really the best car wax? It could be, but it depends how you use it. To get the best out of it, you need the right conditions, and let's not forget it is all about the prep first. If you wash your car badly in the wrong conditions, you're just going to have an awful experience. But that could be said about all wax, not just this one. Now, if you feel that wax isn't for you, then I'm going to show you an alternative method that takes no longer than 30 seconds to apply. It doesn't require any clay barring, and best of all, no machine polishing. It does sound too good to be true, but is it? Find out in this video right here.